The imposition of 40% export duty on onions, is this a knee-jerk reaction to the fact that the government has been facing over food inflation? Let's get started with Deconstruct. So let's give you an overall picture of what this is all about. 40% export duty on onions is meant, of course, to discourage export of onions so that domestic supply is maintained and onion prices can be controlled. Obviously, if the farmers emphasize or focus on export, and that will reduce the domestic supply, there is a high possibility that the onion prices would again rise to undesirable levels, and the government of the day cannot afford to face criticism over this food staple. Already in the last monsoon session, a lot of hue and cry over the food inflation that reached a 15-month high in the month of July. Tomato prices skyrocketed. The government was put in the dock, and now the government wants to do some damage control, not have the onion prices again shoot up to haunt the current government, certainly not ahead of the election year, because this is a food staple. Most Indian households use onions across economic strata. So let's get started by telling you who is inconvenienced by this export duty, I beg your pardon. Surely the traders, the farmers are the worst affected. So the traders fear disparity in floor prices for calculating export duty at different ports. They say that even though a 40% duty is imposed, calculating the exact amount would be a task, because one does not know whether there will be parity in the floor prices, and also says that this won't curtail export volumes and may cause huge revenue loss, because they will end up exporting since there are contracts, there are commitments made, and they will have to pay the 40% to the government, the export duty, and in the process they will end up losing revenue. Nasik onion traders kept market closed last week to protest this export duty. Some exporters have welcomed the move as it keeps the exports going, only to the extent that it's not a ban, because remember, in prior cases, in previous cases, the government had resorted to a complete ban. Now it has chosen sort of a middle path to say, okay, go ahead and export, but while you make a killing with your exports, give us a 40%. That will be government revenue. In a way, the government trying to gain from the situation and also disincentivize export of onions. Bans and restrictions on exports of wheat, rice, and onion have led to inventory pileup, which is also hitting the industry, because there is a certain amount of production that was done keeping in mind the exports, and now if a decision has to be taken to curtail exports, that will mean a pileup in the inventory. It could mean a huge wastage of the product as well. Now let's talk about giving you an exact picture of what is the breakdown of onion exports. Which are the nations that will be impacted if exports are curtailed? Bangladesh, Malaysia, UAE, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Indonesia, Qatar, Vietnam, Oman, and Kuwait. Therefore, the image of India as a dependable nation for onion exports will take a hit if this is the way policies keep changing, because obviously there are commitments made to these nations by farmers and traders. It puts them in a spot. The other important factor to remember here is that what is the quantum of exports really? The annual production of onions in India, 300 to 320 lakh metric tons. The export quantity is less than 1/10. In fact, it ranges somewhat from 9 to 11% of the total produce in most years. Quantum of exports, if you look at it over the years, has increased, which of course may be a reason why the government has decided to put this duty. 2020-2021 quantum in lakh tons 15.78 in exports. The value in crores is 2,826.53. 2021-2022 15.37 lakh tons exported, and revenue earned 3,432.16 crore rupees. 2022-2023 25.25 lakh metric tons exported. This is, remember, from April to March period of these 2 years, and the revenue earned is 4,522.79 crore rupees. So that is what it looks like in the overall picture of India's export process of onions. Thanks for watching Deconstruct.